I don't just talk about other people's stuff, I also make my own. Books in particular. To date, I have 4 books you can check out on Amazon. Operation Red Dragon: The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, Occult Mafia, Emerald of Maddox City, and the short story collection Assorted Absurdities, Tales of Kaiju Punk and Other Genres. Hop on down to the description for Amazon links to all 4 books. Enjoy whichever ones you read, and enjoy the video. Well, the trailer for the Netflix live-action Cowboy Bebop is up now. You remember when I did the Lost Session video analysis and I felt like something was off? This doesn't change a thing. Now, for starters, we can confirm, I think, at this point, that the whole fourth wall breakage that was occurring in the Lost Session isn't probably going to be in the main show itself. We still get a few shots that indicate a sort of manga panel style popping up every once in a while, but we don't see any evidence of the characters interacting with those lines that separate the different scenes. So that was probably done just for the Lost Session, which is a good thing, I will say that. I don't think that really would have fit into the overall tone of Cowboy Bebop as a whole. Then again, nothing about this trailer fits into the overall tone of Cowboy Bebop as a whole either. It feels like they're going for something that's not tonally Cowboy Bebop, which is a big deal. Cowboy Bebop has a very particular tone. Even though each episode is just a little bit different from every other episode, it tries to add a little bit of variety each time. There's still an overarching tone that unites all those episodes together. And I don't recognize any of that in this series. At least not in this trailer. The trailer we got right here looks like it's adapting something else entirely and just sort of adopting an aesthetic that's reminiscent of Cowboy Bebop. To say nothing of the acting, of course, if you can call it that. I know that each of these actors has been in other things. I do. And I don't doubt that they can act. But to call what I see on display here acting, I'm sure you'll probably get some people saying it feels more like it's community theater than professional TV or film acting, but I've done community theater where people have given some amazing performances. Where you're performing isn't the issue here. Because you can have great performances in community theater, you can have bad performances on Broadway. The fact of the matter is, the performances right here, again, something feels off. In particular, it doesn't really feel like they're really embodying the characters. I realize it's just a trailer. I realize we're not seeing everything. I realize that there's probably some stuff that's been deliberately kept out of the trailer for one reason or another. But still, we should be able to get a sense of what the characters will be like based on this. And they are unrecognizable as the characters everyone knows from Cowboy Bebop. At least as far as I can tell. I mean, you look at the original show and you listen to the voice acting. In either language, the voice acting is great, but I'm guessing most of you guys are English speakers and would be more familiar with the English dub. So we'll focus on that. The English dub of Cowboy Bebop, when you listen to what those voice actors did with those characters, you really understood them. You could understand them even just from a single line. Spike is pretending to be lackadaisical and uncaring, but that's keeping down how much he does care. Jet is world-weary, and he's seen a lot of stuff, but he's still trying to hold on to that sense of honor and justice, at least for himself. Faye is sultry and conniving and very smart, but she's also lost and not entirely sure of her place, so she's carving one out for herself by any means necessary. And Ein is a corgi, but he's incredibly intelligent and is always saving the crew when they don't even realize it. we've seen very little of what Aang is actually going to do in this series. Based on this trailer, I almost wonder if he is going to do anything. He just seems like a random dog that they just happen to have, but maybe they're just keeping what he does under wraps for now. But as for the others, I said when I watched the Lost Session episode that it felt like they've been Marvelized, and this does not contradict my assessment. That's what it really feels like. It feels like they're more quippy, they're not taking things as seriously. It's not really true to those characters. I saw some people in the comments of the Lost Session video, the one I did that is, say it felt kind of like they were watching a bunch of cosplayers making a fan film where they were just having fun and not really taking it too seriously. And they didn't mean that in a good way, because this is meant to be a professional production, of course. You're expecting a little bit more. I can definitely see that as being the case. But since we're not watching cosplayers and this is a professional production, seeing this lack of quality seems more like the cases that they just didn't care enough to really do it, or they were trying so hard not to just blatantly copy the original anime that they wound up not replacing it with something that would work instead. I don't know what the case is, and again, I realize this is only a trailer, we're not seeing the whole thing, but something about those performances still feels really off. Something's not right about it, and it doesn't result in a compelling performance from anybody. But I think the part that sticks out to me the most is when we see Pierre in the trailer. Now, the original episode of the series, Pierre Le Fou, that he appears in, is one of the most memorable episodes of the original Cowboy Bebop. It's the one where, when you mention it, it immediately invokes a reaction from anyone who's seen it. For me personally, I would describe it as somebody had a nightmare, like a really lucid nightmare, and then animated it for everyone else to see, and put the Cowboy Bebop characters in it. It's oddly surreal, but in a way that doesn't contradict the world as it was established. It's got atmosphere so thick it's practically liquid. Pierre himself is a very memorable villain who could have been ridiculous, but when you place him in the context of the episode, he is terrifying. And the characters respond to that like he is truly a monster, and they're in fear of their lives because he could kill them. For this, though, we see Pierre in the trailer, and it looks no different than anything else we see in the trailer. It's still got the very clear lighting. It's not dark like that original episode was. It doesn't seem to have much atmosphere, but again, we're only seeing it in this context. But even just this brief little shot, it doesn't carry the same weight. I wasn't going, oh cool, they're doing the Pierre Le Fou episode. I was going, that's it? And that's not the reaction I think they should have been aiming for. And I don't think they were, but it's what they got for me. And then, of course, that shot is directly juxtaposed with a shot of Spike and Jet, showing all of the terror and horror you would expect from someone who just saw an unusual cat video online. It's not really much of a reaction, is what I'm saying. And, in fact, the reaction that Spike has with his line, it almost feels like it's making it a joke. Again, it feels Marvelized. It's like, we're not going to take this too seriously, guys. We know it's ridiculous. I have a bow and arrow. None of this makes sense kind of thing. Well, maybe that quote is... Never mind. I don't want to go down any rabbit holes. Point is, it didn't feel like the right reaction. Maybe this clip is not the one that directly follows our first shot of Pierre. Maybe this clip isn't even from the Pierre episode, though the lighting makes it look like it could be. But even if it's not connected to that shot, the fact that the shot is placed right after the Pierre clip still sends the message of, this is ridiculous. Anime sure is weird, isn't it, guys? And that's not what they should have been doing. Like, obviously, like I said, the Pierre episode is really good. And to see this as how it's represented makes me feel like they didn't just miss the bullseye, they just fired the arrow off into the distance and didn't really care where it landed. If you look at the comments under the trailer, you'll find that most of the positive comments are about the use of Yoko Kanno's Tank. And you know what? I love Yoko Kanno's music too. Tank is one of the best anime openings ever animated. You're not going to find any contradiction from me there. But don't you think it's rather telling that the one positive thing that most people seem to be zeroing in on with this trailer is the thing that already existed in the original show? They're not responding to the content of the trailer itself, like the scenes or the choreography or the acting or anything. They're like, wow, they used Tank. That's great. That's not a good sign, if you ask me. Again, I like the music, but to me, the fact that everyone's focusing on the music as the best part of it tells me that first, Netflix is exploiting people's nostalgia and it's working, but second, that there's nothing in this actual trailer that stands out beyond the use of Tank. Like, you have the music that everybody loves, but it's not, everything else is not equaling it or even transcending it. Like when we got the first trailer for Iron Man, the very first Iron Man, and they used Black Sabbath's Iron Man song in it, yes, people liked that the Black Sabbath song was there, but I think everyone was kind of expecting it to show up somehow. But more people were focused on how cool the trailer looked. That armor looks amazing. It's great to see Robert Downey Jr. again. It's great that he's back and he's going to play this character that has never been in a movie before. The acting looks like it'll be incredible. The cinematography. They were all talking about that. They were going, yeah, Black Sabbath's Iron Man. Da 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 da. That's the best part. The fact that we're focusing on Tank, or at least other people are focusing on Tank here, that's not a good sign for the trailer itself, if you ask me. Now, of course, I've also seen people saying that if the series does wind up being bad, there's no reason to get upset about it because the original show still exists. This remake does not erase the original. Two things about that. First of all, the original series is only available for now. Every anime here that's available legally that you can get physically or stream without worry about getting a virus on your computer, it's all available here by way of licenses, and licenses can expire, and have expired. There are quite a few anime series that are just lost to the sands of time here in the West because the company folded or the studio just decided not to renegotiate. And yes, it can happen to Cowboy Bebop. You might say that Cowboy Bebop is such a big title, it's never going to have that happen. Remind me again how many years Neon Genesis Evangelion was unavailable before Netflix got it? Or how about Berserk? Those were two really big titles. Titles that are as big in the West as they were in the East. And they were gone for a long time. The only things we had regular access to were the newer film versions, which people don't really like as much, quite frankly. A rebuild of Evangelion, I guess people are kind of mixed on, but nobody likes those new Berserk movies. And they were gone for a long time. I think the original Berserk anime has been relicensed at this point. I'm not entirely sure. I thought I saw it might be. But even so, they were gone for a while. And since Cowboy Bebop was originally distributed by Bandai Entertainment and Bandai folded, there was a chance that it was going to fall to the wayside as well. Funimation picked it up, of course, and now it's streaming on Netflix, but that's only for now. Who knows how long that'll last? But more to the point, a bad adaptation of something can hurt the overall franchise quite badly. Think about how many bad comic book movies we got from 1998 to 2008, in that 10-year span, all those false starts, all those attempted reboots, did any of those things send more people back to reading the comic books? No. No, they did not. Speaking of 1998, the TriStar Godzilla, remember how badly that affected things? Throughout the 90s, Godzilla was actually making a bit of a resurgence in America. You had an action figure line by Trendmasters, you had books being published by Random House. Godzilla was actually seeing a bit of a comeback, and then the 1998 TriStar movie came along, all that stuff disappeared. The license dried up. Nobody wanted to touch Godzilla anymore. Okay, you got a Saturday morning cartoon that was good, but most people weren't going to take that very seriously. And beyond that, Godzilla just went back to being fodder for robot puppets to make fun of on TV until the 2014 movie came along. And that was a long time coming, let me tell ya. And staying on the subject of Netflix, did the Netflix Death Note adaptation do any favors for the original manga? I sure don't think it did. The point is that a bad adaptation of something could be someone's first exposure to that story. And if it leaves a bad impression, they're not going to come back for more. Nor are they going to go back to the original, no matter how much people insist it's better. Or at the very least, they'll take their sweet time getting to it. So, if this series does turn out to be as bad as it's looking, and you have people watching that first and thinking, that's Cowboy Bebop? Well, that's awful. And hearing other people going, no, 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 you gotta see the original. The original is so much better. They'll just be like, yeah, I'm sure it is. I'll get around to it in a year or 20 at some point, you know, eventually. And that could affect things overall. I don't know how badly it might affect things, but it will have an effect if this show really is as bad as it's looking to be. I don't want this to be bad, but the evidence is suggesting that it will be. But like the trailer itself says, whatever happens, happens, so we'll see how it goes when it drops mid-November. I guess. At least gives me some time to revisit the original and have a proper frame of reference. Anyway, I'm sure you guys have your own thoughts, so drop them in the comments section below, as always. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni viewer saying, see you around, Space Cowboy.
Congratulations, you reached the end. If you enjoyed this video, you might want to consider supporting us on Patreon. Of course, the other way to support us is to go to Amazon and check out our books, Operation Red Dragon, The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, The Occult Mafia, Emerald of Maddox City, and Assorted Absurdities, Tales of Kaiju Punk and Other Genres. Also check the description for links to DeviantArt and other platforms we operate. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.